Hello, everyone. Hope you had a great and amazing, fun weekend. I had a pleasure to read through your assignments. Great job on the project outline. I know this was a very heavy week for you guys. You had to keep up with a weekly discussion and then talk and kind of have that paper for the project outline. Some of you did an amazing job. Congratulations for that. Some of you, for some reason, got intimidated by the assignment itself. Very long story short, it should have been pretty simple, straightforward. The main idea was to choose a project, okay, and then to kind of detail and talk about what is the scope, who are the people that are going to be impacted by that project, which are known as your stakeholders, how you are going to manage, monitor, control costs, schedule, identify a couple of risks, how you are going to monitor them, talk about procurement if there are any contracts involved, and you could have also talked about how you are going to close out this project. Most of you did an amazing job, and I'm expecting to see this farther in the final project. It was also interesting to see how many of you, a very good amount of you, chose as a project developing a new billing software at a hotel chain. It was a great topic. It's a great project. That's indeed exactly a project. Great approach, all of you. However, for the final project, I'm expecting you guys to be more creative, given that you're in a group setting. So I will be okay with this project if it's perfectly outlined and perfectly developed. But I'm still insisting that you should be creative in groups and find different kind of projects. But overall, those of you who chose this project and to chose the scope to develop a billing application did really good. There were some couple of other ideas which I really graded well just because they were unique. But anyways, long story short, this was the scope of the assignment for this week. Now, before I go and I talk about this coming week assignment, I would like to do a little bit of a lecture on what a scope statement is, how to create WBS, and also what is a scope baseline. So I'm going to share my screen and I am going to talk a little bit over these concepts with you. So one more time, what is a scope statement? What is a scope statement? How to create a work breakdown structure, and what is a scope baseline? So this is from PMBOK 6th edition. The project scope statement is the description of the project scope, major deliverables, and exclusions. The project scope statement documents the entire scope, including project scope and product scope. So as you can see, there are two different terms here. One is the project scope and the other is the product scope. The product scope defines the future of the end product. Like in the case of your billing software, that would have in all the features that you are defining for that particular application, that's your product scope. Now, the project scope is the work needed to deliver the product. And here, some of you outline it very well. It could be the development of the application, the training, the implementation. So make a clear distinction between the product scope and the project scope. Now, we talked earlier, what is a project scope? Very well defined when you say it's a billing software for whatever hotel chain, whatever that was. be more creative this time. What are major deliverables? Again, in case the application could have been any kind of features that application would have, like adding invoicing, creating certain reports, anything that you know that application can do. Those are your major deliverables. Now, what is out of scope? And this is important to outline in a project. Okay, I do this project, I do this application, but for instance, any HR features, any HR, I'm just giving an example here, any HR connections or any HR applications are not in scope for this project, or any sales capabilities are not in scope for this project. So you as a project manager, you have the responsibility to outline what's not in scope. Okay, so when we talk about scope statement, okay, which is going to be part of your this week assignment, make sure you define the scope of the project and the product. You outline the main deliverables, and then you highlight what is not in scope for the project. Now, let's talk a little bit about the work breakdown structure. Okay, this is very high level. I am not expecting you to deliver this kind of diagram, but just think through it when you write this week assignment, and in general to know what a breakdown structure is. So as you can see, it starts with deliverable 1 or phase 1, deliverable 2 or phase 2. Okay, so this is my main project. So my main project has a deliverable 1 and deliverable 2. And then I go farther down and I have, for each of the deliverables, I have 1 or more control accounts. Okay, and then each control account will have a work package, 1 or 2 work packages actually. If it's only 1 package, that means there is no control account. So think in terms of what are my deliverables 1, 2, 3 for my project, and then what are my control accounts. Okay, this control accounts is pretty much how you are going to monitor your cost and schedule based on what you define in this control account. So not to overcomplicate the things, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, be creative and apply it for your project scope. So let's imagine that my product is a software product, whatever releases, or in your case, in most of your cases, was that software billing system. Now, these are all the deliverables, or most of the deliverables: project management, product requirements, detailed design, construct, integration, and test. Okay, so now you, in case of your project, you try to define what are my main deliverables. 1, 2, 3. I am just expecting to see 1 or 2. Okay, and then within each of deliverable, define some control accounts. In here, there are 3 control accounts. So on my deliverable 1, project management, I have control account 1, planning, control account 2, meetings, control account 3, administration. And then in the planning, I may have the schedule, I may have the communication, so I may have a little bit more. They are called, as you can see, they are called work packages. So actually, what I'm going to do to accomplish planning, what I'm going to do to accomplish meetings. Now, I'm going to write an email, I'm going to communicate my meetings, I'm going to send out a meeting invite, and so on. Just find a couple of work packages. Okay, so once again, for this week assignment, you're defining your project, okay? You define the scope of your project, okay, which is project and product scope. You are determining what are going to be your major deliverables, what is the outer scope, and then you go and define, okay, what are the 5 deliverables I'm going to have for this project. You can use project management as one of them. Then the other one could be, I don't know, what kind of reporting, let's say, or the other one can be billing itself as a system. Okay, So within each of those deliverables, I am looking for you to determine what are the cost, the control accounts, okay? So just keep these ideas in your mind of deliverables, control accounts, work package. This is the definition of the work breakdown structure. I define deliverables, then I go to the next level, I define the control account, and then I go to the next level and I define my work packages. I don't want you to go farther than that, but just have a, and then you may ask how you are going to write this in a paper. You can draw it like this if you want to, or you can literally put deliverable 1 and then whatever that is, and then I have control account 1 that is what is, and then I have control account number 2 for deliverable 1 would be 1, 2, and just follow this kind of annotation if you want. Okay, keep it simple. Do not overcomplicate it. Also keep in mind, before I go farther to the scope statement, this assignment is 1-2 pages. Okay, don't go farther than that. What is a scope baseline? According to PMBOK 6th edition, the scope baseline is the approved version of the scope statement, WBS and its associated WBS dictionary, which can be changed only through formal change control procedures, and it is used as a basis for comparison. So now what I want you to understand is that this scope statement is very important in a project. Why? Because this is how you start a project. You start with this kind of baseline. If along the way, any of the stakeholders or anyone in the team decides to do something different, there should be a change control in place. And all the time, any changes you are going to make to the project, they will make reference to this scope baseline. Okay, which is actually the scope statement and the work breakdown structure. Okay, yeah, this is pretty much what I wanted you to know in the for the scope of the project, and what a scope statement is, and what a scope baseline, and why in a project definition of the scope is critical. It's very important. It may take some time to clearly have an understanding of it, but it's going to be, as I said, your baseline moving forward. And also very important, the work breakdown structure is going to be used to define your costs, because you are going to define the costs based on each of the deliverables and based on the control accounts. And it's going to be used, this WBS, to allocate resources as well as to define the schedule. Okay, how long does it going to take me to develop and implement first deliverable? You may say project management is across the board, and that's okay, that's fine. But I have to have a deliverable in mind that I can monitor and control against too. Okay, so this is really a long story short lecture. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about scope statement moving forward. And I kind of gave you a little bit of insight with what's expected for this week. Keep it simple, okay? Define the project, define the product scope, the project scope, define the deliverables, define what's out of scope. Try to create a work breakdown structure. Define 1 or 2 deliverables. And within each deliverable, define 1 or 2 control accounts. And they'll go a little bit deeper and define 1 or 2, at least 2. You have to define at least 2 work packages. Okay. And then just wrap it up. Another thing that I want you to make sure for this assignment, other than I just said, define the scope and the work breakdown structure, make sure that you identify a couple of risks, possible risks. Think of, okay, you implement the software, what can happen? Okay. Then formatting, again, API, cover page. I'm not very strict with you guys on the API format, but make sure you have a list to references. And you can have references from PMBOK. You may not have PMBOK, but anything that's related to project management and anything that's about scope statement, WBS, or even identifying risks. So at least two references for project management. I think that's what is expected. That's pretty much what I'm expecting from you for this week. Feel free to reach out. And I say this, you are not sure about, what you're reach out to me, but submit your paper. Keep in mind that any grade is better than zero. So just give it a try. Just give it a try. Other than that, I wish you to have a great and fun week. And I look forward to your weekly discussions and your this week project scope assignment. Thank you.